welcome to another episode of Going All In, Get the Edge You Need to Succeed. I'm Dr. Erin McKinley, and today we have another awesome spotlight session with Dena French from the Fontbonne University Coordinated Program in Nutrition and Dietetics based in St. Louis, Missouri. All right, welcome to the podcast, Dena. To get us started with this episode, I would love for you to give us an introduction to you, your journey to RD, and how you landed in your position with Fontbonne.
Absolutely. Thanks, Erin. Well, like she said, my name is Dena French, and I currently am the program director for the coordinated program in nutrition at Fontbonne University. We're based in St. Louis, Missouri. The kind of way I got to this was a little bit of a non-traditional way, which is becoming more and more common these days, but dietetics was a second career for me. I was in accounting for a number of years and decided to just completely pivot and change directions because I had such an interest in health and specifically nutrition. So I wound up going back to school, and I actually went to Fontbonne for my undergrad, completed my dietetic internship as well as my master's degree through Bowling Green State University's distance education program, became a dietitian, and then my first job was actually in food service management. So I worked in management in the college environment, and then I moved on to K through 12 school nutrition, and then realized that what I really wanted to do was to work with students, because I pretty much lived for having dietetic interns and students working with me at my jobs, and realized what I really wanted to do was to teach them. So I was lucky I kept up all of my contacts at Fontbonne, my alma mater, and managed to get a adjunct position teaching one class, and then right away, experiential coordinator program director came up as an option. So I managed to slide into that role, and I've been here ever since and haven't looked back. I started at Fontbonne in 2014, and it's just been an excellent experience. So that's kind of how I wound up where I am in a nutshell.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm going to let you give your presentation about your program.
Okay, great. So our program is a coordinated program in nutrition and dietetics. Like I said, we're based in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm excited to be able to tell you a little bit more about it today. So first, just some questions. If you are interested in health promotion, if you could see yourself acting as an advocate and a leader in inspiring positive changes in health, and if you'd like to earn a master's degree that really builds upon your nutrition knowledge and challenges you to think outside of the box, then our program might be a great fit for you. So just to give you kind of a quick overview of our program, I always like to give the history of things and kind of where they came from. So in case you haven't heard of our university, we're a very small Catholic-sponsored university located in St. Louis, Missouri. We're in the Midwest. And our university was founded in 1917 by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet, and dietetics was actually one of our founding programs at Fontbonne. So we've been around for a very long time. When Ascend began accrediting dietetics programs, I think it was in the 80s, I don't have the exact year, but we became an accredited didactic program in dietetics. Many years later, we ended up adding an ISB track, which is what I was hired to coordinate. Which is, in case you're not familiar with ISBs, they are a track where you have to first get a no match to a dietetic internship, and then you can apply. So it's kind of like a second chance and second round program. So we ran that for several years. I ran it myself since 2014. And then we started kind of doing a little bit of a review, feasibility options, because we wanted to make some changes because we were seeing a decrease in our ISB applications, which was kind of based on a combination of factors. One being, there were just more dietetic internships out there, so second round wasn't quite as big. Many other things as well that I won't get into the boring details of. But I'll just say that ultimately we ended up overhauling our master's program curriculum, changed the title of our degree to Health Advancement and Promotion, which was a better, it just kind of showed a little better what we were teaching to our students. And we decided to submit a proposal to Ascend to reorganize into a graduate level CP. So in 2020, this was it seems like it's been much longer, but 2020 was a long year. All of our changes were approved in January of 2020, and we admitted our first classes to the CP in summer and fall 2020. This is just kind of a quick fact slide about our program. Like I said, we are an accredited program, coordinated program, which means we lead to RDN, credentialing eligibility. We are a full-time on-site program, so there is no part-time or distance option to our CP. It includes 35 graduate credit hours, which encompasses your graduate coursework as well as the supervised practice experience. And like I said before, our program concentration is in health advancement and promotion. As a CP, we mostly serve our own students. So I will say that we serve our own students first, which is part of why we created the program. However, our program isn't that big. So we have those spaces for DPD graduates, and DPD graduates can finish our program in just 5 semesters, which ends up being about 18 months because that includes summer. We're a small campus, we're a small environment. We have a lot of hands-on learning, collaborative learning. Everything happens in the St. Louis area, so it's not a distance program, like I said, so you would have to relocate to the St. Louis area if you don't already live here. But all of your sites and preceptors are arranged for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Our class size can be up to 15. Each cohort can have up to 15. Like I said, a lot of those will be filled with our own students, but we expect to have up to 5 openings around that number available each year for DPD graduates to join us. So this is just an overview, kind of a visual picture, if you will, of the way our program runs. Like I said, it's 5 semesters for DPD graduates because you'll already have completed your bachelor's degree when you come to us. We have required summer semesters, so you get through all of it and you're done. You start in the summer, which for us ends up being late June, early July. It starts late summer. 6 credits of grad courses. You move into fall, you've got some content graduate courses, and then a preparation for supervised practice part 1, because we're starting to get you ready for your internship. In the spring, more graduate content courses, 3 of them, plus part 2 of prep for supervised practice. And then that second summer, you get to choose 1 elective course. You take a 1 credit hour advanced MNT seminar, and you start your actual full-time rotations. Rotations continue through the summer, through the fall. So that's your supervised practice part 2. We have a professional seminar to finish everything up, and then December graduation. So 5 semesters, total of 35 credits, and you're finished and ready to sit for the credentialing exam after you study, of course. I have to add that in. So I mentioned, our program concentration in our degree is in health advancement and promotion, which is different from your undergraduate coursework. It's different from a master's in nutrition. It's a Master of Arts. And these are a picture of some of the classes, actually all of the classes that you'll take. So it's courses that will absolutely complement your knowledge in nutrition and dietetics, but it's not taking those over again at a higher level. Personally, I did my master's in food and nutrition, and I felt like it was a higher level than my undergraduate courses, but it was kind of the same stuff over again. So I'm excited to offer this program and give people a little bit different of a view, a broader view on health, and still being able to kind of relate that to any setting in the world of dietetics. I would challenge you to give me a setting that this wouldn't apply in, because I think it applies just about anywhere. So we learn how to interpret science for consumers, kind of putting things in plain language. Applications for health communication is a social media course. So you learn how to manage social media accounts and provide health information. Of course, you don't get out of a graduate program without research methods and stats at the graduate level. So we have both of those. And there's several elective options. We're adding some new ones probably this coming year. And then as part of the CP, I'll say there are also, we have a standalone master's. So you may have students from other professions in your master's coursework too, which is kind of cool because you get those different points of view. But as being part of the CP, there's specific courses only for students moving toward dietetics. And I kind of mentioned these earlier, the prep for supervised practice 1 and 2, advanced MNT, and of course your supervised practice, which is the internship. And about 200 hours, I kind of have in parentheses here. The total internship hours are 1,200. And about 200 of those get completed during that year leading up to your internship. In prep for supervised practice, we have some shorter practicums, some experiences that students will complete in order to to earn some of those hours. And then the rest, the bulk of it, is done in those last 2 semesters in your actual full-time rotations. All right, so I just kind of mentioned this, so this will expand a little bit on what those I call them pre-supervised practice, although all of it counts toward your supervised practice. But these are kind of the things that you'll experience in those 2 semesters leading up to full-time rotation. So we allow you to dip your toe in a little bit. We have a 40-hour counseling practicum that's focused on pediatrics, so working with children and families. There's a leadership experience where each intern actually takes on a leadership role within their cohort. One example is that we have a couple of students running our social media accounts. So they're posting information. You can actually follow us on social media and see their posts. We have an advocacy leader. So just, taking on kind of a little bit of an extra role, and you earn 40 hours toward your supervised practice for that. Catering events. We do catering events on campus. Hopefully we'll get back to those this year with going back to in-person. Each of our interns teaches one single undergraduate class session to gain some teaching and leadership experience. We do wellness tables around campus. We go to advocacy day. We go to farm visits, which is really fun. And we attend dietetics profession organization meetings like our local dietetic association, state, and we don't require it, but we really encourage our interns to go to FNCE if they're available too. Right, these are just some visual pictures of some of our interns doing some of these experiences. This is, of course, the dairy farm in the bottom right corner, a wellness table, a beautiful catering event we did. And then kind of in the middle, that's us visiting legislators' offices in our Missouri State Capitol for Advocacy Day. So we get to do a lot of fun stuff. All right, and then the full-time supervised practice is always what everyone's really looking forward to, of course. So this is, like I said, during your final 2 semesters, that final summer and fall. It's about 30 weeks total. I split everything pretty evenly. We do have a concentration, but like I said before, it's very broad, which means that you can really get experience in all different areas. And I do allow for some special electives and interest areas or extra weeks in some of the general areas if that's where you want to land. So in general, it's about 10 weeks clinical rotations, both acute and long-term care, about 8 weeks in food service management, and that could be in either a school or a hospital setting, or some interns prefer to do some in each. And then about 6 to 8 weeks of community, which leaves 2 to 4 weeks of those special interest kind of rotations in any of those areas that fall into those categories, as well as some other specialty areas too, which I have on the next slide, I believe. Each of our rotations has a staff relief included. So typically on your last couple of rotation weeks, you get to have some extra hands-on experience, kind of be on your own in each of these settings so that you can really get a feel for which of these areas is really going to be the right fit for you. We have culminating projects. Each rotation type has a culminating project. We have a big clinical case study in the clinical rotation, of course, health planning and implementing a health intervention in community, and a quality improvement project in food service. And at the end of the year, we always have a big event where we invite all faculty and preceptors to join us as our interns choose one of those big projects to present. And that's always a continuing education event, so they earn CEUs for attending. It's always really, really a cool experience. All right, so where am I going to do my internship? This is always a question too. If you don't live in Missouri, you may not be familiar with our specific hospital systems, but we work with all the big healthcare systems in the St. Louis area, as well as some of the long-term care and post-acute care facilities as well. Outpatient is usually included as part of the acute care rotation, so interns will spend 1 to 2 weeks in the outpatient office working with those individuals. For community and public health, this is just a small snippet, but we work with food banks, the public health department. We also have some private practice dietitians, as well as worksite wellness dietitians that we work with for community. And as I mentioned a slide or so ago, we do food service in hospitals, K through 12 school districts. Some of those are contracted food service and some are self-operated. So you get a little bit of a variety as far as those rotations go and the way that those areas are run. I mentioned the special interest and electives. So we have agreements with cardiac rehab facilities, dialysis. I was really excited to get an agreement with an eating disorder treatment center, as well as a sports performance dietitian who opened up to allowing interns in to work with him. We've sent some of our interns to the zoo. This is a really cool experience to kind of work in nonprofit food service management, as well as learn a little bit about animal nutrition too while you're at it. And then we've had the Missouri Department of Corrections has allowed us to send interns to learn about a food service for individuals in that setting. So we have a wide variety of places that interns can go. Just a few pictures of some of our interns in their rotations. I grabbed one from community food service as well as clinical. And just to say again, our interns do provide input on as far as what kind of rotations they want to go to, what facilities they'd like to go to, but they don't have to set them up. All right, so moving on to the admission criteria and our application process. So our admission criteria, our general qualifications are for the DPD track. You have to have an earned bachelor degree, and you must have your DPD verification by the semester you intend to start with us, which for us is a summer semester. So you would need to be finished with your bachelor's degree or DPD verification by the end of spring. Or we've had interns that had a couple of summer classes left, and usually we can work with that because we have such a late summer start. So we can usually work with that if needed. You need to have a 3.0 overall GPA. That's for all coursework completed. We don't really look at the professional GPA like they have in the DICAS. We just look at your overall GPA. And we would prefer that you've had MNT coursework completed within the last 5 years. We are a graduate program, but we don't require the GRE. So that's sometimes a good thing when individuals haven't taken that test yet. So that could be helpful. And then just some other desirable things we like to see in our candidates. Of course, we want to know that you're going to be successful in your graduate courses and in internship settings. So, when we're reading through your materials, when we're looking at your personal statement and your letters of recommendations, we're looking for kind of evidence of critical thinking, that you have time management skills, and that you're able to build some positive relationships with faculty, peers, and others. I also would hope that your interests and your career goals can fit with our concentration. As I said before, it's very broad, so probably you can find a way to make them fit. However, if you are extremely interested in clinical and that's all that you want to do, I don't know if our program would be the right fit. So we're kind of looking for folks with kind of an open mind as far as where they want to go. Certainly we have had people complete our program and become amazing clinical dietitians, but if you're really wanting like a clinical master's, this won't be the program for you. We also like to see profession related experience. I don't mind if it's work or volunteer or even some shadowing. We just want to know that you've kind of dipped your toe into the profession and know that that is what you want to do. And then we are a very service-oriented institution. So we would like to see that you've had some engagement, some experience in leadership and service, whatever level that might be. Maybe that was just taking a leadership course or a program through student development and serving in the community as a volunteer. It doesn't have to be anything too heavy, but we like to see that you've had some experience in that. And unique perspectives. We really value unique perspectives. That's why we have such a broad program. That's why we have a standalone master's degree and have all the students take courses together, because we really think that everybody can benefit from different perspectives and learning from one another. All right, our application process. We open up to DPD graduates on January 1st every year with a priority deadline of March 15th. That gives people time to, if they really, really want our program, there'd still be time to take yourself out of DICAS if you've applied in there. But know that we are not in DICAS, so you won't be able to find us in there. You have to apply, since we are a coordinated program, you would have to apply directly through our program website and through our admissions department. Like I mentioned before, GRE scores are not required and there is no cost to apply. So we have some instructions on our program webpage with, if you have these handouts, this is a link included here. So you would have to go to our program webpage, just follow the instructions, but make sure you follow the ones for external applicants. The internal applicants would be our current students who are doing their undergraduate with us and moving into the graduate program. We require for the application your official transcripts, which would need to be sent directly to our admissions department. Your personal statement, which has some specific prompts in those application instructions. Your resume, 2 letters of recommendation, which are submitted directly to our admissions department as well. And your DPD verification, if you have earned it already. If you haven't earned it already, then a copy of you can use your declaration of intent. If you did apply in DICAS, you can usually do like a screenshot, or I've also taken just emails or letters from DPD directors stating that you'll be completing your program on X specific date. So just some kind of a proof that you are completing a DPD so that we know that you're eligible. And finally, just for more information, feel free to visit our program website. This is a link in here. You can contact me directly at my email address, and feel free to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. And these social media pages are maintained by our current interns. So you could potentially send them a little message and ask them questions if you'd like to get kind of a student view on the program. And that is about all that I have.
All right, perfect. Thank you for that overview.
Sure.
Awesome. Very informative. All right, I'm going to move on to the 5 questions that I ask all the programs that come on the podcast. And these questions were put together with the help of my students to make sure I was asking the questions that they really want to know the answers to from directors. So the first question is, what is one thing in particular that you just really love to see when reading an applicant's personal statement?
Well, the first thing I look for is to make sure that they answer all the prompts, that they can follow directions. I also really like to see that they've made a clear connection between their career interests and our program concentration. Just a few sentences, kind of articulating how it is that their future interests, their job interests will tie in with health advancement and promotion. The other thing I really like to see is that they've done their research on our institution and our program, so they know they know what they're talking about throughout the letter. So they can really articulate why they have an interest in our program and our university.
All right, well, switching over to talking about resumes. So true or false, an applicant's resume should be 1 page and 1 page only. Either way, why?
I would say absolutely false. I tell my students all the time, don't try to squeeze it all into 1 page. In the same sense, at this point in their student career, I would kind of expect them to have enough things to fill up 1.5 to 2 pages of a resume. With academic experiences, whether those are practicum or projects they did in their classes, volunteer work experience. So I like to see definitely more than 1 page if it needs to be more than 1 page. Because what I see is they squeeze everything into 1 page. They think it has to be only 1, and then the font gets really tiny or the margins are so small and it's really hard to read. So my advice, to students is always don't get stuck on number of pages, include the amount of information it needs to be, unless you're specifically asked to have only 1 page, then you need to call it down. So that would be my advice.
All right. So what is one or more things that a potential applicant may do, and this could be in any interaction you have with them prior to them applying, something in the application itself, something that would raise red flags for you to where you would think maybe this person isn't the best fit for this type of program?
For me, one of my real pet peeves is getting a personal statement that's tailored to a different program. I've seen this a few times, more than a few times maybe, where it's pretty clearly written to another program. They're talking about, some kind of a master's in clinical nutrition or something that's clearly not us, or they might even name that program, say, here's why I'm interested to join, XYZ university, and it's not us. So in that case, I stop reviewing. I I'm not going to review their application because they're not really that interested.
All right. Any other pet peeves?
That's probably the biggest one. When we review applications, we really review the whole application. Even if, the GPA doesn't quite meet our standard, I still review the entire application because that person might have other attributes. Their letters of recommendation might be fantastic and they might be a great fit after all. So, I would say I'm pretty open to looking at most applications. But that's the one thing that kind of gets to me.
All right. So my fourth question of the 5 is, what is one thing that you're actively working on trying to make an even better experience for the interns?
I would say probably recruiting new sites. I'm always trying to recruit new sites, of course, as an internship director, but recruiting new sites that really fit with our students' interests. And I'm starting to see a little bit of a shift toward a lot of students having an interest in private practice, opening their own business one day. So that's one thing I've been kind of looking for, is more private practice dietitians who are willing to work with our students and kind of show them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because sometimes, students think that it sounds so glorious to have their own business, but there's a lot to it. And these are things we don't always teach them in their coursework, is how to run a business. So that's one area I think that we're really trying to push for, is a little bit more private practice.
All right. Well, my last question of the 5 is a 2-part question. And the first part is, what are the 3 best adjectives, descriptors, or phrases that you feel really best describe your program?
Yeah, I thought about this. This is kind of a hard one. So for the program, what I would say is that it's student focused, that it's unique because of the concentration and the degree we offer, and also just that it's broad, that it's not pigeonholing or narrow.
All right. So the second half is very similar to the first. The 3 best adjectives, descriptors, or phrases to describe your ideal applicants.
For number 1, I would say that they're curious. So just curious, thirsty to learn information, new things, because that's what you learn in our program, is a lot of new things you haven't learned before. Service-minded, because we are very service-focused, community-focused, and that they're a leader. Even if they've never been in a formal leadership role, that they have that potential and they have that desire to be a leader.
All right, perfect. Well, I just have a couple of questions that I thought of as you were giving your presentation. So how are you planning on integrating RD exam review into the program?
Yeah, we've already done it. So I guess I should have said that's an area we're continually trying to improve, as well as, to help students do as well as they can on the exam. One thing we do is we purchase the Visual Veggies software for each of our students. We purchase that before they even start supervised practice, and incorporate quizzes, reviews from that, and practice exams, so that they really start to get a feel for those questions. The other piece we do is the Inman review guide. So they get the software, the online software, and then they get the binder with all the information in it. And they get that. Actually, I just ordered them literally today. They get that before they start supervised practice too, so they can use it as a reference. And this year we have Jean Inman herself coming to do a online seminar for us, which is great with the virtual world. So she'll be presenting to the group of interns in December, right before they graduate.
All right. So I know that the last year has probably been very challenging, and you've had to make a lot of changes when COVID-19 was brought upon us. So is there anything that you had to change to make more virtual that you actually think you might keep because it's working out well or working out better than you expected?
Yeah. Actually, a lot of the alternative kind of simulation assignments ended up being really great. Of course, last year after COVID hit, our interns start their rotations in May. So it was like questionable what was even going to happen. So we had to jump into gear and create lots of alternative. Thankfully, we had a lot of, friendly people in higher education who shared, who were very generous with sharing. So, but there's about probably 5 or 6 of those assignments that meet some competencies that are kind of difficult to hit in the field. So I'm planning on keeping a nice handful of them probably for years to come.
All right. Well, that was all the questions that I had for today. So to close out this episode, give us one last take-home message for potential applicants to your program.
Yeah. I would just say there's a lot of programs out there to choose from. Dietetic internships are just one of the options. So if any of this sounded really interesting to you, if it sounded intriguing, our program concentration, our focus, any of the things that I said, I would encourage you to look into us either this year or whenever you're ready to apply. Part of the reason we became a coordinated program was so that we could accept students before that second round match hits, because we had several students who would reach out to us and say, hey, I wish I could apply now, and I have to wait till second round. So, if you have kind of a broad view on health and want to learn more, check us out. We'd love to have you.
All right. Well, Dena, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. And for those at home who would like some more information on the CP at Fontbonne University, I've included the website link to their program in the description below this video. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode with another awesome dietetic internship. And we'll see you next time. Yay. That's it.
Thanks.